You wake up one morning and something feels off. The banks are closed. You open your phone to check your balance, but the app won't load. The ATM screen says out of service. Stores are still open, but your debit card gets declined everywhere. Gas stations want cash only. Rent is due, but your landlord refuses a transfer. At first, you assume it's a system glitch, a temporary outage. But then you notice the tension in the air. Lines form outside locked bank doors. Grocery aisles are jammed with people hoarding essentials, paying with whatever cash they have left. The news blares updates about a temporary financial review. And that's when it hits you, your money isn't gone in theory. It's gone in practice. It was never sitting there, waiting for you. It was just digits on a screen. And the screen has gone dark. It sounds like the setup for a dystopian thriller. But it's not fiction. It's history. And it has played out, not in some far-flung nation, but in countries that once considered themselves safe, stable, and modern. When the banking system halts, life doesn't ease into a slowdown, it crashes headfirst into chaos. Take Argentina in 2001. After years of bad policy, ballooning debt, and IMF bailouts, panic hit. Citizens rushed to withdraw savings and convert pesos into US dollars. The government slammed the doors shut overnight. They called it El Corralito, the little corral. For regular people, it was a trap. Withdrawals were capped at 250 pesos a week. Dollar accounts were forcibly converted into rapidly devaluing pesos. In a matter of weeks, life savings meant for homes, retirement, or small businesses lost half their real value. The middle class, once confident in their security, found themselves banging pots and pans in the streets, demanding justice. And Argentina wasn't alone. In 2013, Cyprus froze all bank deposits as part of a European bailout. Anyone with over 100,000 euros saw part of their money seized to stabilize the system. Overnight, businesses couldn't pay workers. Retirees couldn't access pensions. Parents couldn't cover tuition. It wasn't the ultra-rich who felt it most, it was ordinary families, blindsided by a system that took what it needed to survive. Lebanon 2019. Years of corruption and financial decay erupted into crisis. Banks limited withdrawals to a few $100s per month. People stormed branches, some even armed, demanding their own money back. And in every case, the story followed the same script. What you thought was your money wasn't really yours at all. In 1933, during the Great Depression, President Franklin Roosevelt declared a bank holiday. Every bank in the nation closed for days. Businesses froze, wages stopped, and panic spread. Only after the government inspected and selectively reopened banks did confidence slowly return. But think about that. One of the richest countries in the world had to literally halt its banking system to avoid collapse. The pattern across all these crises is clear. Banks don't store your money the way you imagine. They work on fractional reserves, keeping only a small portion of deposits on hand while lending the rest out. Your savings aren't sitting idle in a vault. They're circulating through loans, investments, and debts. When too many people demand cash at once, the illusion cracks. And when it cracks, governments almost always side with the system, not the saver. In Argentina, the corralito wasn't meant to punish citizens, it was meant to stop the banks from imploding. In Cyprus, bail-ins were framed as fairness, making depositors share the burden. In reality, it was confiscation. During the 1933 crisis, Roosevelt wasn't just restoring calm, he was buying time to stop mass failure. Banks and governments are joined at the hip. Banks rely on governments to enforce confidence and backstop failures. Governments rely on banks to fund debt and keep economies running. When trouble comes, they protect each other, first and the depositor last. Deposit insurance? It's psychological armor. In the US, the FDIC guarantees up to $250,000 per account. But if every American tried to cash out at once, the fund wouldn't even scratch the surface. It exists not to pay everyone, but to keep them from trying. When the banks shut down, commerce stops dead. Digital payments vanish. Salaries stall. Supply chains collapse. In Lebanon, factories couldn't import raw materials. In Greece in 2015, people stood for hours in the summer heat just to pull 60 euros a day from ATMs. Weddings, surgeries, and school tuition were cancelled because money, the lifeblood of modern life, had been rationed. And now, with digital payments everywhere and physical cash fading, the danger is even greater. The more we depend on centralized systems, the more fragile we become. If servers crash, if accounts freeze, if the government declares a holiday, wealth becomes numbers trapped behind a login screen. The nightmare of a financial shutdown isn't old world history, it's a modern possibility. Picture the domino effect: businesses can't make payroll, workers can't pay rent, suppliers can't deliver goods. Stocks plunge, pensions shrink, panic spreads. Governments plead for calm, but every day the lines grow longer and trust thinner. What began as a banking issue spirals into social unrest, hoarding, bartering, looting. We've seen it before, and we'll see it again. The unsettling truth is that banks exist to protect themselves and the system, not you. When the machine falters, you become expendable. The system's survival depends on your belief, and once that belief breaks, the countdown begins. So what can you do? The answer isn't panic or stuffing cash under a mattress. It's preparation. Real financial resilience comes from diversification. Have assets in multiple forms: physical, digital, tangible, and across different institutions or even countries. Real estate, precious metals, cash reserves not as panic shelters, but as bridges of independence. And beyond your own finances, recognize the structure we live under. The rules deposit insurance, capital controls, emergency powers aren't designed to protect citizens. They're designed to protect stability. Once you understand that, you can demand better accountability, transparency, and genuine safeguards that serve people, not systems. Confidence is the most fragile currency of all. Banks don't need to burn to fail, they just need you to stop believing. When that faith collapses, so does the illusion of safety. And history shows us again and again, when the screen goes dark, ownership ends and permission begins. If your wealth only exists by the grace of the system, then it isn't truly yours. Financial freedom starts with understanding that simple, unsettling truth and preparing for the day when the system itself falters. Because one day, the question might not be what if the banks shut down, it might be what do we do now that they already have? If this opened your eyes, hit subscribe. History doesn't just repeat, it warns. The smart ones listen.